Welcome back and welcome to level 6 of this project. Now we will finally be handling some of the errors that might occur. And I'm talking about if the database is down or if the user is sending some invalid data to our client or to our server. Right now we can't handle it. Our thing is just going to crash or it's going to throw an error and nothing is going to be handled. So that is what we're going to take care of right now, because currently we have a big problem if we send this out into the real world and have real world users use it, because users are always trying to break your stuff. That's just the sad reality, but it will be like that whether they do it on purpose or by mistake. It doesn't matter. You will get random stuff into your server and you have to deal with it. So let's take a look at an example. Right now, if we are trying to ask for a specific book with ID number 3, we're going to get an error. Let's just see if our server is running. Currently it is not, it has crashed. I will just start it again with npm run dev, and then I will just go to the get all books endpoint and try to hit that one. And then we should get back all our books, no problem. And we can see that we have currently just one book in our database. So what happens if a user tries to get the third book, the one with ID number 3 or ID number 2 or ID number 90 or whatever, or foo or something? Let's try it out. So I'll put in ID number 2 because we currently don't have that. And as you can see, we get an error and the connection failed. We don't get a response, and that is because our server has actually crashed with a whole lot of stuff here in the console. And the error that we got was a not found error from Prisma. So Prisma is telling us that I was trying to find this, but I couldn't. No book found. And it actually has an error code. And if you go to the Prisma documentation, you can look up all the different error codes and see what they mean. And this will be very, very helpful in order to give the correct response to an error so that you can handle it in the right way. It of course depends on what error happened. So you can look up the Prisma documentation and you can find these error codes and you can see what they mean. This means that it could not find the entity that we were trying to find. So let's start by handling all of this. And first of all, let's go to the DB Prisma service, our class that handles our connection to Prisma. And in here, we of course need to use try and catch. So we're going to try to do many of these things, and if an error occurs, then we'll catch it and then we'll handle it. So we're going to wrap our logic. For example, in this get books function, we're going to do a try catch. And this error will be of type unknown because we don't know what type of error will happen. It can be any type of error. So we don't know that yet. And then I'm going to move my logic up into this try and into the try block. Then if an error occurs, then we catch it. Right now we get an error in the compilation because this function doesn't return. If it catches this error, it does not return a book array. And we have promised that it will return a book array. So in order to handle this, we need to throw the error one layer up. So we're going to throw this error again. I'm going to throw, not a new error, just throw the error. And this way, this will make TypeScript happy because now it knows that either we return the books if all goes well, or we throw an error. And then we expect to handle that error somewhere else. So right now, we're not really handling the error. We're just acknowledging, yeah, there's an error. And then we're just giving it on to some other part of the project, of the code. Of course, we then have to handle this error in that place of the software where this error will be going to. So right now we just throw it and hope someone else catches it. Of course, we will remember to catch it somewhere else. But before we throw it, I would like to just do a console.log saying that a Prisma error has occurred. So a Prisma error happened. And this is just for me as the developer, such that I can read the log and I can see what has been going on. Why did we get an error or what happened? Okay, I can see it was because a Prisma error happened. And then of course, I would also like to log out the error such that I can see what the error was. Because if I just hide the error by just sending this message, I will never have any clue about what actually went wrong. So I would like to do this. I would like to catch the error, do these logs, and then throw the error. And then I will handle this in another place in our software. So we of course have to do this try catch for all of our endpoints because all of them can throw like this. But I'm going to be repeating this console.log of the Prisma error and the error a couple of times. So just to try not to repeat that too much, I'm going to make a small function that will log this out for us. So I'll make a small function down here, private method called log error, and this one will take an error which will be of type unknown, like this, and then it will just console log that a Prisma error happened and the error itself, and then we can put that in here. That's just one line shorter, but I prefer that. So we have this log error function, and we'll put in our error here, like this. And then afterwards, we're going to throw. We cannot put the throw statement in here. That would have been nice, but we're not able to do that, unfortunately, with the syntax. So let's wrap all of these functions in a try catch. So I'll just do that very quickly. I have my error here. It's of type unknown, and I will move up this logic. So we'll try to handle this logic. Otherwise, we log the error like this, and finally we throw the error like this. And essentially, this is what we do for all of our functions. So we do a try catch over here as well. We try to create a book. Let's see if it succeeds. Then we're happy. If it doesn't succeed, then we log the error, and finally we throw this error. And for the next one, of course, the same thing. Inside the body of the function, we do a try catch. Let's just grab all of the logic, put it in the try. We hope it goes well. If it does not, then we have to log the error. Not this type of log error, this one. And we provide it with the error, and we throw the error. Not a new error, throw error, like this. And finally, for the last one, we do a try catch. We move all the logic into the try, and we catch the error of type unknown, and we log it with our function. And finally, we throw this error. All right, I know that was a lot of repeating the same step, but this is essentially what you have to do in order to handle the errors at this point. Now, of course, we're just throwing this error up. So this means that whatever code that is calling our Prisma service, it will have to have a try catch as well, and will have to handle the error that we are now just throwing up into the air. So the place where we're using the Prisma service is, of course, inside of our controller. So if we go into the book controller, we now know that all of these Prisma service calls, all the function calls that are using the Prisma service, they might throw an error. So we're going to have to wrap them in a try catch as well. And because there's going to be a lot of logic connected to this error handling, because it will depend on what type of error that we receive, we're going to handle it differently. I would like to put this logic into a new file, into a new service or a new handler that we will call the error handler. And then we can just pass all these errors onto this error handler, and it will then have the responsibility of handling them in a nice way. So let's create a new file, and inside of our services directory, and we'll call this one error handler.ts. And I will just copy the code for this one, because otherwise it'll take a long time to type it out. But let's open up the error handler.ts. So let me show you what we have here. This is the class that is going to handle all of our errors. And then we export it down here in the end with the new keyword in front, so that we only have one instance of these, because we just need one. And this class only has one method currently. Of course, you can expand this as you need, but for just this simple illustration, or just for the inspiration of showing you how to do this, I'll just keep it simple and only have this one function. And this function is called handle error. And of course, this error is going to receive some type of error that it does not know about, and then we'll handle it. And then it's going to return an object that has a status code, that is a number, and a message, which is a string. Because when we return this from the error handler, then we can, in the book controller, we can get the status, we can get the message, and then we can pass that on to the client or to the user that made the request. So they will get this status code and the nice message. And inside of here, we then have defined an unexpected error. So if we cannot detect this type of error, or if we have not handled this type of error yet, if it's the first time we see this error, then we probably have not, we probably don't have the code to handle it yet. So that's why I have this unexpected error, which might happen. And that just includes the status 500, which means something went wrong in the server, and a message saying that something unexpected happened, because this is the unexpected error that we would like to return in case that it was an error that we could not foresee or we had not yet handled. So after this, we check if the error is an instance of this type, the Prisma client validation error. And this is a special type of error coming from Prisma. And this is because when we're using Prisma and we're connecting to the database and trying to insert stuff, update stuff, some of these errors will happen, and it could, for example, be one of these types of errors. And a Prisma client validation error, it means that the input that it received was wrong or could not be validated. So this could be that you're trying to insert the book, for example, but you don't have the title. And it is a requirement for the books table that the title must be there. So this would then throw a Prisma client validation error. We can just try it out. If we go over here to our Postman and we try to post a new book, but we don't include the title. Let's try to see what happens. We send the request and we get an error. If we take a look in our server, we can see that the argument title is missing and that we threw an error, a Prisma client validation error. So this was because, as I just told you, that the title was not there. So we have to handle that. And of course, we just need to, no, it will restart when I make a change. So I won't restart manually, but this is the case where it is a Prisma client validation error. If that happens, then we return status 400 and saying that the input was invalid. Of course, it would be very nice to add to this logic that we specify what input, how the input was not valid, such that the user can know, it's because I'm missing the title, and then they can provide the title. But that is something you can expand upon if you want. For now, I'm just keeping it simple. So whatever the reason, we just say that the input was invalid, and then the user has to figure out why it was invalid and has to fix that. Okay. Otherwise, and of course you can have as many else ifs as you need, but for now I'm just keeping it simple. Else if this is an instance of the Prisma client known request error, which could be, for example, when we're trying to request a book that doesn't exist. Then this type of request error in Prisma has a lot of these error codes. This is what I showed you earlier on in this video, that we have all these different error codes and they mean something different. And in the case of this one, 2025, P2025, which we can switch on the error code. This means that the book was not there, or the entity we're trying to find is not there. And this, because we're handling books in this project, we can then return the message that the book was not found and a status 400. Of course, you could now make a switch case that handles all of these different error codes and returns a different message depending on how you want to handle it, or depending on what you want to tell the user. But for now, I'll just have this one switch case, and then the default, if the error code is not something that we have code for, if we don't have a case that handles the current or some specific error code, then we're just going to default, and then we will return the default unexpected error that we defined up here with a status of 500 and this message that something unexpected happened. And then finally, if it is neither this Prisma client validation error or this known request error, if it is something else, if it's an entirely different type of error, I have not handled it yet. Of course, you should, and you can in your projects, you can handle all the different kinds of errors that might occur. But for now, I'm just returning this unexpected error if it is none of these two cases. So I know that was a long explanation, but overall, this is the error handler, and this error handler will now be able to take care of the errors that might happen and then return a meaningful status code and message. So if we go back to our book controller, this is where we're going to be using this error handler. Because currently our Prisma service is where the error might occur initially, but after it has occurred, it's going to catch it and then throw it up, and then the book controller will have to manage it. So this means that in here, we're going to also have to do try catch and move the logic into the try, and then we'll catch the error, and then we're going to use the error handler that we just imported, and call the function called handle error, and then we add the error like this. And then of course we are going to get back a status code and a message. So we can do an object destructuring like this, and call this one status and this one call it message, and assign this to what we return from the handle error function. And then we can do a res.status and add the status in here, and then res.send, and then we can add the message. So in this way, we're going to get the status code and the message, and we're going to return or we're going to respond with that such that it makes sense for the client or for the user who made the request. And now the next steps is of course to use this error handler throughout the whole book controller. So I encourage you to go ahead and try that on your own, or otherwise you can just follow along as I do it. So in the get book by ID, we of course need to do a try catch, and we put up the logic into the try and we try to catch the error. For example, here's another error that could happen. What if the ID that the user or the client supplies or provides is not valid as a number? What if it's a string like foo or bar or whatever? What if they put in the title of the book? Then we cannot convert it to a number, and this will throw an error. So currently we will then be able to catch that error, and the error handler will then handle it. We don't specifically have something in the error handler that would take good care of such an error, but that is something that you could add if you wanted to. But nonetheless, in here we of course need to do a very similar thing. So I'll just copy these two lines from above. We're going to handle the error, and then we're going to respond with the status and the message. And again, we do the same down here, try catch, like this. We move up the logic for inserting the book. If everything goes well, we just respond like that. If not, we handle the error with the error handler. And same thing down here, we do a try catch. We move this up, and if something goes wrong, we handle the error with the error handler. And of course, the nice thing about this is that now if you want to change the logic of how you handle errors, you just have to do that in the error handler class. So by structuring it in this way, we have a very nice separation of concerns, and the responsibility for each of the classes is very different. And we can always just exchange this error handler with another error handler if we wanted to. If, for example, we wanted to handle the errors in another way. And let's just finish the final one down here. We'll grab this logic and put it up there, and finally respond like this. So now we should actually, if we try to access the books and we're trying to access something that doesn't exist, we should get a nice status and a nice message back. So let's try again with the post request to send a post request without the author. No, sorry, without the title. So we click send, and after a short while, we should get back a 400 bad request, and we get the message that the input was invalid. Over here in our terminal, we can see that the server did not crash, and that's good because then we don't have to go and restart it. Imagine if there was a server that was standing down in your basement and you actually had to go down and turn it back on. That would be really bad. Of course, it's not like that in reality, but it's a bit similar that if it crashes, you have to have some sort of way of restarting it. Maybe it does so by itself, but in the end, it's always bad if the server itself crashes, or if the system or the service that you are providing, this project, for example, if that crashes and doesn't restart, that's a very bad thing. So it's good that we now are not crashing, even though we get this error message, which is what we want, because we are logging it out. And as you can see, we have this log statement that a Prisma error happened. So now as a developer, I can go into the logs and I can find out, I can easily search for this, and I will find out that, this is what happened. I get a nice message telling me what was the error or the type of error. And it was a Prisma error, and it was a Prisma client validation error. And these are then the details and the specifics of that error. And we are told that the title is missing. So that is really nice. Let's again try another one. Let's try to get the book with a specific ID that doesn't exist. If we send this, we get back that the book was not found. So again, very useful and meaningful for the user. So overall, good job on completing this level. We have now finally handled some of the bad requests that might come and some of the bad input. There's still more to do. We can even improve the security or the resilience of our project even more. We'll do that in future levels. Good job on completing this. I hope you had fun and I hope you learned something new. And then I will just see you in the next level. Happy coding.